The kitchen is the heart of the home. Hopefully, it's not just about providing meals, but it's also a place of inspiration and stimulation that could make the difference between a not so good day and an awesome day. This is my kitchen. Welcome to Carol's Kitchen. Our musical guests today are Brad Smith tenor and his accompanist, Ruth Brown. Brad grew up in Gardner, Kansas. He received his collegiate music education at Baker University in Baldwin City, Kansas. He has led an active life as a vocal soloist, pianist, voice and piano teacher, and piano tuner. Brad currently sings with Deo Cantamus of Minnesota under the direction of Al Hawkins. Brad and his lovely wife, Anita, live not too far from here in Lowell, Wisconsin, and they are parents to 3 grown children. Ruth Brown teaches on the music faculty at MBU. She has an undergrad degree in music education and a master's degree in piano performance. She is an amazing accompanist, and I'm happy to call her my friend. For their first selection today, Brad and Ruth will be presenting He That Keepeth Israel, a setting of Psalm 121 by Adolphe Schlosser.
He that keepeth Israel slumbers not, nor sleeps. He that keepeth Israel slumbers not, nor sleeps. He will give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways, in all thy ways. He that keepeth Israel, he that keepeth Israel slumbers not, nor sleeps. Put thy trust in him and call upon him. Put thy trust in him and call upon him, for his ears are open unto thy prayers, for his ears are open unto thy prayers. He that keepeth Israel slumbers not, nor sleeps. He that keepeth Israel slumbers not, nor sleeps. Slumbers not, nor sleeps.
On the menu today is beef empanadas and Spanish rice. So we'll start preparing the beef empanadas. I've already got the pan warmed up. I've got 1 pound of lean, 80% lean ground beef that will get frying. Break it up into smaller pieces. And I've got the oven preheating to 350 degrees. We're going to add one small onion. Gives about a half a cup of chopped onion. We'll add that to this mixture. It smells awesome. Got it on medium high. Don't want to get it too hot too fast. Want the onions to get done and get translucent. I've got cumin, chili powder, and salt that are being added to this mixture. While that continues to fry, I'm going to prepare the tomato mixture that will go on top. I have 1 can of diced tomatoes, and you could get them plain, but I got the one that has some basil and oregano in it. And I'm putting it in a little bit of a strainer here, because the recipe calls for drained very well. And then I have a 4-ounce can of chopped green chilies, which I'm putting in here. And we're going to press it until all of the juice comes out into the bowl below. And have to be a little brutal about it, because you really want it to be as dry as possible. Otherwise, the empanada will be will fall apart. Now, the Spanish rice recipe calls for an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, but I discovered when I'm making these two together that the sauce that pours off of these 2 cans is about the right amount. So rather than using a can of tomato sauce, I'm going to use the runoff from the diced tomatoes and the chilies for our second recipe. So that's just a little time saving, and thought of throwing that wonderful juice away did not rest well with my thrifty mind that my mother taught me. Don't throw stuff away. And so it was a good way to use it. I was generous with the spices, because the next step is to drain the beef, because we don't want all that grease going into the empanada. So we're going to drain this. Not completely, because a little bit of that fat makes a wonderful flavor. I will get the onions out of there. And we'll set this aside. And I've already turned the burner off, but this is electric, so it takes a while to cool down. Let's see how drained, how well drained. We still got. So we're going to add this to the mixture and set this aside for the Spanish rice. And now we're ready to load the empanadas. I cheated and used, I'm using already pre-made pie crusts. Happened to buy Pillsbury's this time because they were on sale. You should have them sit out for at least 15 to 20 minutes so they're at room temperature and pliable. And I'll unroll this right in here on a piece of parchment paper, cooking parchment paper. And the next step is an egg. We need to be prepared. Here's an egg. A beaten egg. And it will stand by in just a moment. So what we will do is put half of the meat filling on this. So I kind of spread it out and just mathematically, look at me. So this is about halfway, so half goes on this empanada. And I like to press it in half so I can see where the halfway mark is. So there's a little bit of a line there. Even it out a little bit. And our oven has just reached the preheated temperature. It's notifying us. So how do you get these things, sides to stick together? You take a little bit of egg and you run it along the outer edges of both sides of the crust. This will be pretty slick. And just fold this over. And if I can just shift this around right this way so I can show you what I'm doing, I'm going to seal the edges with a fork, and that'll stick together nicely. So that is one empanada, and we take the egg and we will brush it lightly with egg all over. We'll make it nice and shiny and golden brown and extra crispy crust, which is always a great characteristic of an empanada. And then I will repeat the process with the second one. Well, the second empanada has been put together. We've got them on a cookie sheet on parchment paper. So I will place them in the oven for 25 minutes, 350 degrees.
Sure, on this shining night of star-made shadows round, kindness must watch for me this side the ground. The late year lies down the north, all is healed, all is health. High summer holds the earth, hearts all whole. Sure, on this shining night I weep for wonder, wandering far alone of shadows on the stars.
Our story today is entitled Detained by the CIA. My husband John and I were detained by the CIA while visiting Washington, D.C. several summers ago. How does something like that happen to two ordinary, unassuming, law-abiding citizens from a small Midwestern town? Believe me, it can happen, and it did. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to the beginning. My cousin, Colonel Sharon Mack, was retiring from the U.S. Army and asked me to sing the national anthem at her retirement party. I said yes, of course, and John made arrangements to get off work. To attend this soiree, we needed national security clearance, so our applications were submitted months in advance. No problem. Our records came back squeaky clean. We decided to fly out a week early and make a vacation of it. Instead of renting a car, we purchased bus and train passes to simplify our transportation. We stayed at a no-frills hotel in Alexandria, and then for a week took in all the historical sites, plus a few plays, shows, and concerts. Our second Saturday in the D.C. area was dedicated to my cousin's Army retirement activities. Public transportation got us safely to Fort Myers Army Base that morning for the Army's group retirement ceremony. It was a moving, solemn event with lots of pomp and circumstance. Afterwards, Sharon paired us with Mr. and Mrs. Rand McNally, friends of hers from Pennsylvania who agreed to let us ride with them. First, we went to a restaurant where friends and relatives were grabbing some lunch before heading to Sharon's private retirement bash later that afternoon at the Liberty Crossing National Counterterrorism Center. About 90 minutes before the next party was slated to begin, we and the McNallys left the restaurant. The Liberty Center was just 30 minutes away, but we wanted to allow some extra time just in case. And that was a good call, because right out of the parking lot, Mr. McNally drove us 15 minutes in the wrong direction before realizing it. Not to worry, we still had an hour left to travel 45 minutes. John rode shotgun, and I was in the back seat with Mrs. McNally and their GPS. We learned quickly that Rand was not only directionally challenged, but he was also hard of hearing. Invariably, when his wife said something like, "At the next corner, turn right," Rand would turn left, and then we would have to circle around to get back on track. This wrong turn, circle around scenario was repeated over and over until we were hopelessly lost. We tried to call my cousin Sharon to tell her what was going on, but the terrain was hilly and cell phone reception unreliable, so we never got through. Sharon's husband left several frantic voicemails wondering where we were. Time was running out, and civility was wearing thin in the McNally car. Frustrated, my husband began repeating Mrs. McNally's driving instructions to her husband. And miraculously, things improved. Apparently, John's low-pitched voice was literally on the right wavelength for Rand to hear. In a flash, we were on the correct highway just minutes from the Liberty Center. Sadly, that's when their GPS went catatonic. "Rand, the GPS isn't working," Mrs. McNally reported. "We have to stop somewhere for directions." Just then, I saw a large green highway sign announcing that the George Bush Center for Intelligence, the CIA, was just ahead. "John, tell Rand to turn right," I said. "Surely someone at the CIA knows where the Liberty Center is." When we pulled into the driveway of the CIA headquarters, an official-looking fellow waved us over to the curb. In seconds, our car was surrounded by men in black. No guns drawn, but clearly packing heat. Their spokesman approached and asked, "May I help you?" Rand just giggled and mumbled something unintelligible. "What is your business, sir?" the spokesman demanded. Rand continued to giggle. That's when I piped up from the back seat. "Sir, we just need directions to the Liberty Center." "Why are you going there?" the fellow wanted to know. My cousin's retirement party is being held there." "Who is your cousin?" "Army Colonel Sharon Mack." He looked skeptical, so I added, "We were at Fort Myers this morning for the public retirement ceremony. I can show you the program, but it's in the trunk." He signaled for me to retrieve the said artifact, which I did, walking slowly and not making any sudden moves. With the program in hand, I pointed out my cousin's name listed there with the other retirees. The veracity of our story becoming more likely, the spokesman inquired, "Do you understand, ma'am, that you can't enter the Liberty Center without national security clearance?" Oh, I assured him we had taken care of that months earlier. But the agent he sent inside to check out our story came back with bad news. Our names were not in their system. On the verge of tears, I looked at my watch and told the man, "Look, I'm supposed to sing the national anthem at the gathering in like 3 minutes. Another agent spoke up. "You know, sir, I think the Liberty Center may have their own separate security database. Let me go check." Minutes later, the agent reported that our names were indeed in the appropriate database, and he added sheepishly, "They're expecting you." The security team flanking our vehicle backed away, and the spokesman's demeanor changed from national security threat mode to kindly nephew helping his crazy aunt mode. And armed with the directions he gave us, we were at the Liberty Center in less than 5 minutes. The personnel at the gatehouse there ran us through their security check in record time. The man in charge said, It's just a short drive from here to the building where the retirement party is. Can't we just leave the car parked and walk? I asked, fearful of getting lost again. Sensing my angst, he smiled and said, Sure, follow me. When we arrived, much of the program honoring my cousin was already over. Fortunately, we did get to see her mom and husband recognized and heard Sharon's beautiful farewell speech. I later learned that in my absence, Sharon's pastor had led everyone in a corporate singing of the national anthem. Oh, what a relief. I would have been devastated had our unfortunate incident in any way marred the occasion. During the reception that followed, I tracked down the gentleman who had escorted us from the gatehouse and thanked him for his kindness. Oh, it was my pleasure, he said. And then, making small talk, he asked, So, where are you and your husband staying? At a hotel in Alexandria. How are you getting back there? With the McNallys, I suppose, I sighed. Unless there's a train or bus station nearby. Well, there is a train station about a mile from here. Is it easy to find on foot? I asked hopefully. You know what? I pass that train station every day on my way home, he said. I'm about ready to leave for the day. I'd be happy to drop you off. Would you like to hitch a ride? Trust me, he didn't have to ask twice. The end. Next on the menu is Spanish rice, a nice easy recipe for Spanish rice. You start out with 2 cups of beef broth and add to it 2 cups of instant rice. And I'm making a mess, but it should fit in here when it all put it in the microwave. While you are preparing the rice according to the directions on the package, we will prepare the tomato mixture. I've got another can of the diced tomatoes with the garlic and basil in it. I'm using the same pan that I used for mixing up the empanadas because might as well enjoy some of that meat juice in there as well. I'm adding, instead of the 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, the drain off of the tomatoes and chilies from the last recipe, adding 1 chopped medium-sized green pepper and another small onion chopped about 1/2 cup. Turn the heat up just a little bit. And then I'm going to add to that, I've got chili powder, garlic, cumin, and oregano. We'll cook this, let it come to a boil, and let it simmer until the green peppers and onions are cooked. The onions are translucent. Well, the rice is ready. It has constituted, and look at our mixture here of the tomatoes, peppers, and onions has come together nicely. So we just add the rice. This is really low tech. Add the rice. And then you just cook it again, get it all mixed well, and cook it until it is that the extra moisture cooks off. Well, it is time to taste our beef empanada and our Spanish rice and all the trimmings. Okay, let's dig in. For a copy of today's recipes, phone 920-262-4021 or email watertowntv@cityofwatertown.org. This program is also available on demand at watertowntv.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time for Carol's Kitchen.